Hello, and welcome to Mind of the Forest, a podcast of the Louisiana Forestry Association. I'm your host, Jeff Zeringue, media specialist for the LFA. In Mind of the Forest, we talk about forestry, the importance of managed forests to the environment, and the benefits they offer to wildlife and water protection. Those benefits are why the LFA promotes keeping Louisiana's almost 15 million acres of forests as forests. The forest products industry includes forest landowners, loggers, and wood manufacturers such as lumber, paper, and pellet mills. It plays an important role in the conservation and management of forests for the important renewable natural resource it is. This episode of Mind of the Forest is sponsored by First South Farm Credit. First South is your premier rural lender. With over 100 years financing timber and agriculture, they have the expertise you're looking for when financing rural property. If you're looking to purchase or refinance land, call your local First South Farm Credit office, or you can find them online at firstsouthland.com. This is episode 72 of Mind of the Forest, and our guest is Jim Barnett. Dr. Jim Barnett. He is a research scientist emeritus for the USDA Forest Service. Jim came to Louisiana in the 60s to research how to reforest the U.S. Southeast longleaf pine forest. He is a treasure trove of history in the forestry industry. We have with us today a special guest, Jim Barnett. Jim, officially Dr. Jim Barnett, correct?
Correct.
PhD. Jim worked for the U.S. Forest Service for probably more years than I've been alive and has a lot to do with the research at the station right there in Pineville with the Forest Service. Jim, thanks so much for coming and joining us.
Sure. Let me
explain what your title was first, because we kind of talked about that, and still want to make sure that's clear for our listeners.
Yeah.
So what was your title, or
I was Chief Silviculturist.
Okay.
And, it was a research forester, but and the parlay of things in the Forest Service. I was a silviculturist, and I ended up a chief silviculturist. That was neat.
Let's talk a little bit about who Jim Barnett is. You hail from Arkansas, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
I was born in the Depression era, 1935.
Okay.
And the first memory I have is with my dad holding me. I was about 2 years old in the commissary of this Rich Mountain sawmill village or town. And they had, they in theory, provided a school, but it was not. My dad was a logger. Mm-hmm. He had a log truck in 1929. He had a log truck.
Wow!
And the truck, I found a photo of it, and the tires were about 3 inches wide, front and back, and had a little trailer, and you could haul about 3 logs on it. Didn't have a cab on it, and it was pretty sad. But the irony of that was this is in the mountains. At the same time, in Louisiana, in the coastal plain, they were doing railroad logging, where they brought in train loads of logs 2 or 3 times a day, harvesting. And the mountains, they just had little old, we called them peckerwood sawmills, But Dad would haul logs to around into those sawmills. Mm-hmm. My dad wasn't educated. My mother had an 8th grade education, and she was determined we were going to get a proper education. So in the Depression, they bought a little farm, and we moved there, and Dad, all his career in life was a logger. And my mother, kept the house and took care of and provided everything that we needed. So I then started going to the best rural school that there was around. Acorn High School still exists today, remarkably.
Really?
And still is pretty well recognized as it produces an education, but you don't get you get the basics, reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Well,
but it was good enough to get me to Arkansas Polytechnic then, which is now Arkansas Tech. They had a pre-forestry program. And so I enrolled in that. We didn't have any money. So, and I didn't understand the lack of money. We lived well. We had gardens and, we had enough to buy basic stuff. But so I saw somewhere you could get a job in northern Idaho to the Knicksey National Forest for the summer. They would pay you $1.50 an hour and guarantee you were going to work 40 hours a week. So these were camps back, in the forest, and they brought foodstuffs in by, mule train.
Wow.
It was an interesting experience. And so anyway, I earned $600. Then $600 was enough to pay my tuition to go to school.
That would buy you an Apple Watch nowadays.
Yeah. And so anyway, even when I went to LSU, $600 was still enough to pay the tuition.
Wow.
So I went to Tech for 2 years, went to LSU 2 years. Graduated in 1957. And before I graduated, the director of the Southern Forest Research Station, Forest Service person, came to me and offered me a job as a research forester. That sounded good. I had no idea what a research forester was or what he was supposed to do, but the job sounded good. We still had the draft on.
The draft was still established in the United States.
And I'd been deferred, and so I was going to be drafted. And there was about 3 others of us, the same boat, and we had a classmate that had been in the Coast Guard. And he said, why don't you talk to the Coast Guard recruiter? Well, we did. And the other guys wised up. They began to realize, hey, we're talking about between 3 and 4 years if we go to the Coast Guard and get a commission. We can wait and be drafted and serve 18 months, and I'll have it over with. So, but I bought. And so I
So you went the route of the Coast Guard.
I went to, and they sent me to New London, the Coast Guard Academy, a neat place, in the wintertime. Ooh. But anyway.
Not used to that cold up there.
After 4 months, I was commissioned as an officer and was sent to this little ship. It was a buoy tender. It was in the Black Fleet. It wasn't the white colors we see on TV. It was a black ship. But we did the aids and navigation along the coast, along the Gulf Coast, stationed in Mobile. And we had this commanding officer. He had come up through the ranks, and he was pretty laid back and self-assured, and he was compassionate, and I got thinking about this guy. Man, that's how to operate. I was learning. So, see, other than being up in the mountains, I didn't have any playmates as a kid. We just lived out in the country by ourselves. Yeah. So I was socially completely inept. And somebody would speak to me, and I didn't even know how to respond. All I would do is get red in the face. So the Coast Guard got me some research, some leadership potential. So then, I did my 3.5 years at the Coast Guard, and bless them, the Southern Forest Experiment Station had me on military leave all that time.
Really? So they held a job for you?
And so I had a job for me. If I was being in winter, they still going to hold a job after after nearly 4 years.
Wow.
But they did. And then
that's cool.
They sent me to sent me to Alexandria
So you arrived in Alexandria when?
in 1961.
Okay.
In 1961, an assessment was done that said there was 26 million acres needing reforestation.
Wow.
You know, that's a lot of acreage.
That's across the South, right?
Yeah, across the South. In Louisiana, they were, I don't know, 5 million or something. Mm-hmm. When I came, traveling from Arkansas to Baton Rouge, you get into Louisiana and you would see these fields of stumps.
Really?
You know, that's the state they were still in at that time. And the saying was, you could stand on a stump in Alexandria, you wouldn't see a tree till you get to Leesville.
Wow.
And so the role of the unit I was assigned to was reforestation primarily. Mm-hmm. And how do we provide the technology to get these forests restored?
Wow. Okay.
So that's the situation when I arrived.
So all these were cut over lands of longleaf pine that had
it was
been in
all
Louisiana,
mostly all
harvested.
longleaf pine. Mm-hmm. Got in the coastal plain. Now we say there were 92 million acres of longleaf pine. Mm-hmm. When I came, there was assessment done across the South, and there were 92 million acres that had been cut.
Wow.
So essentially, the longleaf pine had been forested by this massive railroad lumbering operation.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. In Louisiana, mm-hmm. in this period, beginning in the early 20th century, the railroad logging operation had been developed.
Yeah.
So, lumbermen, well, one thing that really happened that brought the lumbering on mm-hmm. was after the Civil War, the South economy was still in devastation.
Yeah.
So Congress, trying to find a way to help the South kind of get it on its feet, they realized they had 96 million acres of virgin longleaf pine in this western Gulf, Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, maybe Alabama some. Mm-hmm. And they tried homesteading, and that didn't work.
Yeah.
So they agreed to sell it. The low cost was $1.25 an acre. So you could buy, in theory, a
ton of land,
an acre of longleaf pine with the land for $1.25 an acre.
Oh, with the trees on.
With trees on it.
Before they harvested. Wow. Yeah. Okay. I'm thinking of the cut over land.
No. This was with the virgin longleaf. The longleaf, the virgin longleaf pine. The ecosystem was amazing. It was clear. Huge virgin pine, longleaf pine. The understory it kept burned, so you could ride through it, and some old guy said you could see from Louisiana to Texas without a tree. Ride your horse, and they said, man, that was a beautiful thing to do.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the situation. So normally, I say normally, naturally, the lumbermen from the north who were also cutting out their forest, hey, we can buy some prime timberland for almost nothing. Mm-hmm. So everybody that had money came to the South to buy timberland. Well, the northern folk were much better economically than the southern folk.
So they could afford to buy lots of land. So
there wasn't as many people in the South could afford to buy mm-hmm. because, you had to buy enough land to have a, operational success.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, you bought the land. and you built your sawmill.
Mm-hmm.
But to get workers, okay, you had to have housing, segregated.
Yeah.
The law was segregation,
Right.
so you had to have houses for the whites and the blacks. Had to provide a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You had to provide schools for white and black, and you had the commissary that essentially funded everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Their what to eat, and their food stuff and clothes and whatever you wanted. They could bring it in on a train.
That goes back to the old days, and I remember the song. Gosh, I worked at a old radio station that played oldies, and the oldies sold to the company store. Is that kind of the setup there?
Yeah, that's
kind of
very
work on
appropriate.
Credit? Oh, wow. Okay.
That's what they all used, was a country store.
Wow.
And some, well, they all, I suspect they all started paying people in script.
Okay.
They just deduct it from your check.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, but Congress, this was so abusive.
Yeah.
The Congress passed legislation. You can't do that anymore. You've got to pay him in real money.
Yeah.
So then a lot of the companies printed tokens. They're like coins, but they're in different quantities, and so you could give them you pay in tokens. The Crowell Lumber Company down at Longleaf eventually got paying in silver dollars.
Wow.
And so a guard would come in from Alexandria, or a couple of guards bring all those silver dollars. See, the towns, they were not small. So they, like Longleaf, they had probably 250,000. 2,300 employees. So with the families, that's a pretty sized little town.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they in Louisiana during that period, they were 1,300 of those. Kind of blows your mind.
Yeah.
But they would, particularly along a railroad, where they had a good access to the transportation capabilities. They had the steam whistles. Time to go to work. Well, if your company's steam whistle was down, you just go buy the next one, because these towns were just lined up kindly.
Yeah,
because they were making a ton of money.
Yeah.
The saying was, you buy the land and the timber. You get enough people to cut it and build the size of the sawmill, depending on how much timber you had.
Right.
Normally, you maybe try to get enough to cut for 20 years. 20 years, your sawmill was worn out, and you made a ton of money.
And so far, the transportation was a problem.
Most of the companies then would just abandon that, and they would move on, or they would forget about it. And so it would go back to state taxes.
Okay.
But it would be cleared land.
There is a story, you're talking about that subject, there's a story, and just to let folks know, Jim has been writing stories for Forest and People for several years now. And one of the stories that you wrote was about McNary. McNary was one of the towns that you're talking about. But even though the town exists still now, probably a remnant of what it once was, that town moved, did it not?
Yeah. It was unusual. The owners, the ownership in these places, kindly, you couldn't understand, because they maybe would have 2 or 3 people putting money in, and McNary, who was the town was after McNary, Louisiana. He was, he obviously had money, and so. The other owner was, he realized they were running out of timber a lot faster than they thought, and they had planned to buy more. But the competition got to so much, there wasn't any more to buy, and the quantity in the area they could mill. So he decided, well, he wanted to keep the people together. Bless him,
Yeah.
And so he started looking, and he found a place in Arizona. It was on an Apache Indian reservation. And, they had just closed down. They couldn't make it function. So he went out and bought that town, and got a lease from the Forest Service for timber. And so, well, they didn't have any workers. So he took anybody in the mill would want to move, he would move them. Well, it was mostly the black families. The mill was about 2/3 black workers. So he took 2 train loads of people. He took everything they had. If they had chickens and a cow, he took a chicken and a cow.
Wow, man.
It took and built this town and up in the mountains, White Mountains of Arizona.
Wow.
And the winter, 6 feet of snow or something. Well, those poor old Louisiana folk.
Yeah.
Well, that was wow. That was.
How many of them stayed? I mean, that's it's a cultural shock for one, but the climate shock, I would imagine, was even worse.
But anyway, what he did was so noteworthy, I guess. People studied that sawmill and the workers, because in Arizona there weren't any black folk. Just a few around cities somewhere.
Yeah.
And here you had a whole town, mostly black.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was remarkable how well it worked.
Yeah.
And then they got Indian workers and Mexican workers, and so But anyway, that story and how it happened and what it accomplished as far as mixing the cultures together.
Yeah,
it was pretty remarkable.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry I got you off on that story, but let's get back to your service at the research station here at Pineville.
That's what I'm supposed to be talking about.
Well, yeah, but you've got so many neat stories. I'm gonna kind of take you off in the weeds every once in a while, just to kind of get that. So you arrived in 1961. That the primary goal that y'all wanted to do was to reforest Louisiana and the South, I would imagine, not just Louisiana.
The research unit started after World War II. It took them several years to get an organization in place. Mm-hmm. So when I got here in 1961, in the mid 50s, the organization built itself where they could actually function well. Mm-hmm. And they had this guy named Bill Mann, and he was remarkable in many ways. He was a good promoter, mm-hmm. and this was in the the late 50s, and the demand for reforestation information was great. Wow. And forest industry was beating at the door, saying, we need help. And so Bill Mann for the Forest Service, mm-hmm. Jim Mixon from the Louisiana Forestry, and a guy from the Louisiana Forestry Association, Charlie. He wasn't the president. Mm-hmm. Apparently, after we looked up there and we looked up his name and he wasn't there.
Yeah,
but they had created an advisory committee, mm-hmm. reforestation advisory committee, and these three guys, they decided, we need to develop, some sort of facility to work in. And so One of them called himself a cousin of Senator Ellender.
U.S. Senator.
Cousin Senator Ellender. Let's go talk to him. And so they convinced him to get funding to build the Forestry Center.
Yeah, this is U.S. Senator Alan J. Ellender.
Yeah.
I think he was
Alan
from the Houma area.
Yeah. And he had been
a long time U.S. Senator.
A long time. All sorts of stuff. But when all this was done, they invited Senator Ellender. They got the funding to build a first-class forestry organization. The forestry guys were saying, we want something like the up north, this, National Forest Products Lab.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the South, the trees didn't cooperate. You couldn't make plywood out of southern pine because the resin was so great.
Oh,
and so the South didn't have any major other than just, lumber. There was no products.
Wow.
And here we were, okay, our goal is to reforest the South. But reality started to set in. Hey, we're getting a lot of trees growing now. What are we going to do with them?
Yeah.
So that was the driving force to get this forestry center. Okay. And they got the money, and the chief of the Forest Service came down. Man, Forest Service was so happy. Hey, man, this is great. And so, okay, the forestry guys, local, what they wanted was, forest products and reforestation. And of course, we'll do some other stuff, whatever's needed.
Yeah.
Well, the chief of the Forest Service then said, why don't we just put all you forestry types together, the Kisatchie, the research, the forest health protection folks, all together in this facility. And we just put it all together and we'll let you run it.
Wow.
But you create a committee representing one person from each one of those three, and you make the decision. And you can, the Kisatchie will handle all the paperwork that has to be done, that would normally be done in the station in New Orleans. Well, and so, hey, man, this is pretty neat.
Yeah.
We kind of independent, and we just do our thing and show people how the Forest Service should work. And
that was a new thing, though.
That was a new thing, and it never. I don't think it's ever been tried again. But it was. Man, was it successful? And so, the local forester or research forester or whatever, if he had a problem, hey, I've got a personnel officer just upstairs in the building. I'll go talk to him. Or if I got a problem buying something, I'll go talk to the person in Kisatchie to do it. And that was their responsibility, take care of everybody. Well, the people in New Orleans, they didn't like
they
weren't
that very
too
much?
happy about all that. You got these guys up there that's doing kind of independently of us.
Independently of you, and they're making it work, and
we were
decisions aren't coming out of
putting
your
them
office.
to shame.
Wow.
how well it was working.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's still, well, it's been pared down. Now all the personnel records go back to where they should have been. They've whittled whittled off all the good stuff we had going.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
But that was so. But then my part, I was part of the forest management group. Mm-hmm. One of the problems was we hadn't figured out yet. Hey, there's a lot of problems of growing longleaf pine.
Really?
So, and so. There wasn't enough seed. So my first, we had a guy he was my mentor when I got there. He had been at LSU on his master's program when I was there. And our assignment was seed, improve everything we could about longleaf pine seed, where we could get enough to function and all that. So anyway, soon we worked on the other species just as well. So that was part of my initial work was with seed issues. And then...
So where did you get the seed?
Well, see, that was part of the problem. There was getting the seed.
Yeah.
That when we didn't have enough.
Right.
Because all the trees are left with seed you probably shouldn't have been collecting from anyway. But anyway, so that went on, and soon we realized industry is not interested in growing longleaf pine, because longleaf pine has this seed ending stage where they don't grow for a certain number of years.
They'll stay several years in the grass stage.
So a forest industry is not going to be interested in going out there and dealing with the species that you can't control. Well, you can, but man, it gets difficult to get them into the grass stage and within 3 years. So anyway, we did what we could. We kept working on a longleaf pine seed. No one was particularly interested in that anymore. So we had to go to the other species, lob and slash. That's where the action was. Okay. Because you could grow those in a nursery easily, and you could outplant them with success. And so we kind of forgot about longleaf pine. Although that was the species that was here, and that's what was driving our early direction. We need to restore longleaf. Well, we found out, hey, that's not so easy to do, and it's a lot more easy to plant lob and slash. And so everything shifted to these, to those species. And it wasn't until the mid-'70s, I was still working primarily on seed research. My colleague and mentor, he was one of these guys. He was just interested in nature, everything that's happening around. He was a great mentor, but he and Bill Mann didn't see eye to eye. Bill Mann wanted him to produce. Yeah. And he was more interested in how things worked. But anyway, so in the mid-'70s, we had to cut back to one person, one seed scientist. So he lost the toss of
the coin there,
the coin, and he had to do something else. But he was offered a really good, better job, but he didn't. That was in Starkville, Mississippi. Yeah, I don't want to go to Starkville, Mississippi. Well, that was politically. I mean, it wasn't a good decision. Yeah. He was transferred, and Bill Mann, who was my boss, he says out there in Northwest, they're dropping plants from planes. They were early start of container planting. They were trying to drop plants from planes, and it was
that.
It didn't make any sense.
Yeah, it almost sounds comical. I mean,
yeah, it was. Yeah. So he says, I want you to develop a container planting for the southern species. Well, nobody was interested in that. You could grow lob and slash in nurseries, and have good success. Right. And container plants were going to be twice as expensive. Why would we even want to do that? But he says, that's what I want you to do. So, okay. So I kept doing what little seed research that was needed, and I was told to develop container. Well, out west they were growing them in greenhouses, and they were, you know, they were making progress, but they hadn't got it all figured out. So I was trying to follow what they did, and soon, and I had this technician that was really, really good. And so we figured out, hey, you know, we had a greenhouse, and so we weren't having any success. And so finally it dawned on us, longleaf likes light. And so you get them out, you get the seedlings out in the full sun, and put a seed, and we had to figure out what kind of container to use. That was a interesting experience, because everybody who understood what we were trying to do says, hey, we'll come up with a container for you. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, a lot of that stuff, you know, then you knew wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
But you had, you know, the pressure was on. You had to at least try it, you know, get a little data and say it.
Sure.
So that went on it took us, and learning and developing what we could really recommend that would work well. Mm-hmm. It took us 20 years.
Wow.
A little less than that.
Yeah.
But we started in the mid-'70s, and by the mid-'90s, we'd figured out how to do it.
Okay.
But there was no one interested in it, because forest industry wasn't interested, because you still had the grass stage.
Right. And that would last, 3 to 5 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, but with container stock, you could cut the grass stage down to 1 or 2 years, but it was going to cost you, you know, probably twice as much. So forestry industry wasn't particularly interested in that. But over in the Northeast, where they had a lot of longleaf land that hadn't been reforested very well, they began to get interested in it. And so then there was this incentive program passed. Well, incentive program, a lot of people were interested planning on to run this incentive program. So, you know, I would go over in Georgia and Florida and, you know, make talks about this and stuff. And then, well, what are the seedling specifications? You tell nurserymen. And they started, it was just mom and pop, you know, we can grow those. Well, yeah, you can, but economically you can.
Yeah. It'd be a struggle.
So now, if you're interested in planting longleaf, you know, we've got a container that'll do that.
Yeah.
And so, and it's been widely accepted now, and now the lob and slash people who are planting the 3rd and 4th generation, where the seeds are very expensive. Hey,
really?
We want to use container stock, because we'll get a seedling from essentially every seed that'll germinate.
Oh, okay.
And we will have a successful outplanting with container stock. So
that seems like a good deal. I mean, if the government is going to go ahead and do the research to develop something like that, and it looks like private industry has taken the advantages of that and has taken off with it.
Oh, yeah.
You have several companies now that grow longleaf. They grow loblolly and slash as well.
And so, in any way, it has been an interesting experience, and living through that, and doing when we started out doing container, you know, okay, we'll do it.
Yeah.
But reality, you know, come on, you know, reality is not, you know.
But the technology has proven.
But reality has caught up with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we developed, you know, how to do it. Mm-hmm. And so it's been, you know, it's one of those things you learn to appreciate. You know, I had a technician See, along the line,
Mm-hmm.
the project leader died
Oh, wow.
in the field.
Goodness.
Yeah, had a heart attack. And so this was, I guess, in 1980, maybe. And so they made me project leader. And I was project leader for 25 years of this research group. And we did the forest reforestation thing. And we had the people who did the growth and yield, the modeling, how to grow the trees to get the most profit from it.
Okay.
And all that stuff. So it's been a really an interesting experience and very awarding, because when I retired in 2005, they immediately ended the unit, and whoever's left, was reassigned. So they were ready to. I'd solved our problem. Not I, but our unit had solved our problem.
Right.
And
so it's time to move on for those.
Let's end that. You guys have solved that issue. Well, we need people to do something more significant than what you're doing now.
But
you were right.
But you've done significant stuff since your retirement. You have had much involvement with the Southern Forest Heritage Museum, and you've done much history in that. You've done some writings. Got to give you a plug for me. You've done some history pieces for Forest and People magazine, which is a publication by the Louisiana Forestry Association, and folks have enjoyed your history pieces. So thank you for doing that.
When I retired immediately, the Southern Forest Heritage Museum asked me to be on the board. And of course, then we were telling the story about the logging of the forest, the golden age of lumbering. Mm-hmm. But we weren't telling, hey, but we got those forests back. And we needed to be telling that story as well. So that was my mission, kindly, is develop the information that could be used to develop the exhibits.
Right.
To do that.
Okay.
So that's been a very rewarding thing as well. And mostly, it has kept me kind of engaged with people.
Yeah.
and for a retiree, that's important stuff. Where you can still have something that is productive to do. Yeah.
Well, in that time though, you've helped the Henry Hartner exhibit that's there now, the Caroline Dorman. There's also what was it last one you did?
Naval stores.
The naval stores, yes.
And
also the
Hartner
conservation workers.
Yeah. So there's a lot of fantastic history. It's interesting to read about some of those people and what they accomplished when they had very limited, capabilities, and they accomplished really, really great things. And we shouldn't forget about those people. And that's kind of what I've been. I wrote a document on the basis of the South, and the forestry. About 50 people in that. Hey, these are people who really made a significant contribution.
Yeah. One thing I would like to talk to you about, just because it was a fun thing for me to do, when we did the story on the moon tree that is it was the former longleaf station in Kisatchie, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was a fun story to do. Tell us a little bit about the moon tree.
Well, I guess maybe around 1970, maybe.
Okay. Yeah. The moon project, the first moon mission that where they were landing on was
So
1969.
any one of those, early one of those moon missions.
Yeah, so it would be 69 to about 73, I think it was.
I think it was 70 or 71.
Mm-hmm.
One of the astronauts took some seed, forest seed. And I don't know how many species he took, but a loblolly and shortleaf he took.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he took a couple of hardwood species.
Mm-hmm.
So came back and then I don't know exactly who. I guess it was initially one of the NASA people says we should grow seed and see what's happened.
So they
and some ideas, were you going to
it was a publicity stunt,
you're
though.
going to change things. Hey.
Yeah. NASA. I think it was a NASA historian I talked to. He did admit that it was sort of a publicity stunt to get interest from a different aspect of folk, I guess, from into the space program.
So anyway, they brought the seed back and gave the southern tree species they had. There was a Forest Service unit at Gulfport, Mississippi. There was kind of the genetics group. Mm-hmm. And so they grew the seedlings. And, then they grew just like you normally would grow. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so, then I don't know who says, we make these available to people. Well, all over the South, they had a tree planted. One or two trees that had gone to the moon.
Okay, they orbited the moon, right?
Oh yeah,
okay.
Orbited the moon, and so we planted a couple. Well, okay. I guess we planted a couple, and plant them along. Okay, you need to plant them along where people could see them. We planted along the fence row there. and forgot about them because nobody, this went on for years and never even mentioned the moon trees.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, like you said, Jeff, somebody came up with, hey, we got all those moon trees all over the South. Hey, I wonder if we could stir up something. And so we had interest in the moon tree. Well, we had two trees. And so, okay. Then we'd planted a normal tree. Okay. So then we had lost track, really.
Which one was which? Okay.
Which was which? We had a lob and we had a shortleaf. And so...
I do enjoy it. And I think this was just a conversation that you and I had, not in the story, but the consensus came back, well, it's the one on the right. Okay, well, is it the one on the right when you're standing on the road facing it or when you're in the yard?
That's exactly right. And we didn't know which
was which.
And then after a while, the one that we thought was loblolly wasn't loblolly. And it had different characteristics. Well, hey, that's an interesting story. But like you say, we couldn't remember which way we were looking at. If you turn one on the other side, well, the one on the left is always it's going to be different.
Oh man.
So anyway, and they're still there, but I'm not sure we have them figured out, and because one of them changed. So anyway.
Could it be something that happened in space?
Yeah.
We'll see. If anyone interested in seeing, because they've had moon trees all over the country, I said, so it was sent out to different organizations, and the two that are in Kisatchie are off of Louisiana Highway 488 going east of Alexandria.
Okay.
You have to look out. You have a sign out there now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I think when the time we did the story, they were developing a sign.
Yeah, we put up a sign.
There is a sign up there. So if you're interested in seeing the moon tree, just look for.
We actually didn't put up the sign. Someone from Kisatchie put the sign up.
Oh, okay.
How well they identify which one's which remains to be seen.
You can go out there off of Louisiana Highway 488.
Yeah.
and make your own decision as to which tree circled the moon, which tree didn't.
Because we're probably the only location in the whole South.
Jim, you have had a very long career. You've done research. You've helped develop the container planting system for trees. You have done several history pieces. You've written several books on history with your association with the Southern Forest Heritage Museum. It amazes me truly to see in your lifetime how much you have accomplished.
One of the things that I've been blessed by is at 91, my brain still works.
Whew. Well, I hope I can say the same when I get to 91. Jim Barnett, research scientist, emeritus with the U.S. Forest Service, also a board member and still a board member of the Southern Forest Heritage Museum. Okay? Do a Google search. You'll find that online, and you can find out more about that. If you'd like to just stop on that, that's in Longleaf, Louisiana. It's just near Forest Hill off of Highway 165 south of Alexandria. And, of course, the moon trees on State Highway 488. Jim Barnett, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you coming and spending time with us.
I appreciate it. Anytime you can tell us a little bit of your history, knowing that you have accomplished something is a great blessing.
Thank you for listening to Mind of the Forest. This episode was sponsored by First South Farm Credit. First South is your premier rural lender. With over 100 years financing timber and agriculture, they have the expertise you're looking for when financing rural property. If you're looking to purchase or refinance land, call your local First South Farm Credit office or find them online at firstsouthland.com. If you'd like to learn more about sustainable forestry, the SFI, the LFA and its programs, and how you can be part of an organization that supports landowners, loggers, and the forest products industry in Louisiana, check out our website at laforestry.com. We have 14 episodes of Mind of the Forest each year, and you can help support sustainable forestry by being a Mind of the Forest sponsor. Send me an email at jzeringue@laforestry.com. That's jzeringue@laforestry.com to find out more. We're always looking for topics that might be of interest to you, our audience. If you have a topic suggestion, send me an email to that email address at jzeringue@laforestry.com. Our contact information and the contact information of our guest is in the show notes, so you can check that out. Also, you can subscribe to Mind of the Forest by clicking on the subscribe button on your favorite podcast app, like Apple Podcast or Spotify. And now we're on YouTube, so you can check that out. And be sure to tap the notification button as well. That way you'll know when we drop a new episode every month. And thank you very much for doing that. Also remember, at the Louisiana Forestry Association, we're Mind of the Forest for you.